In the next half an hour, have the citizen bloggers of Whitby uncovered a horrible truth or published a damning slur?
He was a paedophile. He was well known to local people and the police. He was protected because of his status as a very wealthy and influential businessman, a mayor and a very successful and local councillor.
Can a forgotten symbol of the North East industrial past be turned into a 21st century attraction?
It's going to be a promenade, it's going to be a pier. Certainly, you know, I have crazy ideas. It's a big climbing frame, markets you could hold on it, but really we are open to ideas.
Stories from the heart of the northeastern Cumbria. This is Inside Out. It began as an innocuous What's On guide for a pretty North Yorkshire town, but it's ended up creating a stink. It's become a libellous rag or a fearless exposé of corruption, depending on who you talk to. Which is it? Well, we've put online magazine Real Whitby under the microscope. It's famous for its harbour, tea shops, tourism. Whitby was, until the citizen journalists of Real Whitby, an online blog, came along. It's a varied read, featuring What's On notices, taking politicians to task, lists of lurid allegations. News blogs can often be accused of indulging cranks, conspiracy theories, but they can also ask legitimate questions, uncover truths. So what about Real Whitby? We're going to put some of its claims to the test. First up, a planning row that caught Real Whitby's attention.
Sirius Minerals, an exploration and development company focused on becoming one of the world's most important producers of potash.
It centred on plans to mine potash in the North York Moors National Park. Landowners stood to make millions from mineral rights if Sirius and its subsidiary York Potash got the go-ahead. Around the same time, Elton John was headlining in Scarborough. With tickets for the gig, one of those landowners, Councillor Tim Lorne. He was also on the National Park Planning Committee. It would decide if the mine could go ahead. Real Whitby had a concern about his tickets.
I've uncovered that York Potash had given the chairman of the Park Authority Planning Committee some free theatre tickets.
And is there anything wrong with that?
It doesn't look right. I mean, a company that, you know, who wants to build a mine, I just don't think they should be giving tickets to elected members.
So we asked the company for an interview about those tickets. Sirius wrote, saying no, but added, Tim Lorne was given the tickets as a thank you for signing mineral rights agreements with Sirius Minerals company, York Potash. It wasn't just the Elton John tickets that concerned Real Whitby. They claimed Tim Lorne had recently bought more land close to where Sirius Minerals was looking to develop.
Well, one of his land purchases was next door to the proposed mine site, and he'd bought that over a year before the proposed minehead site was announced. I thought it was extremely strange.
Real Whitby complained last March. That same day, Tim Lorne told the National Park he also had a mineral company, something he hadn't mentioned for 5 months. Soon after, he resigned. A police investigation found he may have technically breached the law by failing to register the company as an interest, but he had no criminal intent. We wanted to put some questions to Tim Lorne about the tickets, the land, the mineral company. He declined. After Sirius, that's our second interview refusal. He wrote that he'd disclosed everything to the council. He'd been open about leasing his mineral rights to York Potash and had never participated in potash-related matters. So we asked the National Park for an interview. They said no. Refusal number 3. Their statement said Tim Lorne did not participate in any of the potash decisions. His land interests were clear. The authority would continue to deal with the application with independence and objectivity. Was Real Whitby right to raise its concerns? On the face of it, yes. What they said checked out. They were right at least to ask questions. It's a pity we couldn't persuade anyone to talk to us about them. Real Whitby moved on to local councillors' claims for telephone and broadband allowances, specifically those who sit on North Yorkshire County Council and a local council.
I looked throughout the county council and I think they've got 72 county councillors, and 37 of those 72 councillors were also claiming IT or broadband expenses from their local councils as well as the county council.
Is there anything actually wrong in that?
Yes, it's just morally wrong. They should only claim it from one source.
Are we talking a lot of money here?
They get £500 off the county council for sort of, IT broadband, and the figures at the local authorities differ. It can be anywhere from about sort of £180 to £400 or more.
It was accepted that double payments had been made. A few councillors stopped claiming. One made arrangements to repay. Most continued taking the money. The county council and most of the local councils continued the payments because they said it was an allowance, not a repayment of expenses. The satirical magazine Private Eye took up the case.
The public may very well think that if you're being paid twice for the same thing, you shouldn't. There's a difference between whether you're legally entitled to something or whether you're morally entitled, and I think Real Whitby were perfectly within their rights to raise that.
We asked North Yorkshire County Council for an interview. Refusal number 4. Their statement said the basic allowance was a contribution to the out-of-pocket expenses of councillors who work many hours a week voluntarily. The Standards Committee had found no case to answer. Claims for much smaller amounts of money also attracted microscopic inspection. Real Whitby alleged that County Councillor and former Police Authority member Carl Les had double-claimed mileage for attending events held at the same times in 2010. If true, he appeared to be defying Einstein's theory of relativity. We checked. He claimed from North Yorkshire Police Authority for travelling to a meeting at Stone Cross. And on the same day, at roughly the same time, he also claimed from North Yorkshire County Council for attending a meeting at County Hall. That meant he was travelling to the second meeting while simultaneously attending the first, and returning from the first meeting whilst also returning from the second. At some point, he may even have passed himself on the road. In total, claims for 661 miles. We contacted Councillor Les and got our 5th interview refusal. Mr. Les said he'd referred himself to the Council's Standards Committee and the police. The claims had been fully audited. He'd been at the meetings, but travel times weren't always recorded accurately. He'd repaid £34.43 and apologised for causing extra work. But is Real Whitby always right? It's claimed it carries other, very serious, unsubstantiated allegations about individuals. Like other mainstream news organisations, we would not repeat them here. You're reaching some very serious conclusions, and it's claimed you're not actually backing these up with all the facts.
Well, that's sheer nonsense. I mean, the articles, all of the articles are highly particularised. Very, very often, the majority of the information on which the articles are based is actually information that's in the public domain.
I've got a couple of things wrong now and again, and I've had to correct those and apologise, but,
For those that you do accuse, do they have a right of reply?
Absolutely. I mean, very often we've sent drafts to people in advance and said, we're going to publish an article that will be very close to this, have you got a comment to make? But actually it never happens. It just never happens. Nobody ever comes back and says, don't you dare publish that, that's not true.
Do you stand by everything you've published?
I have not published anything that I feel uncomfortable about in any way.
Do you understand the risks you're dabbling with here?
Probably not as well as I should understand them, I would say.
Does that worry you?
Yes.
Does that still make you feel though it's worth doing?
Yes, I believe the information that we provide, it just isn't provided by any local media sources.
You've got to remember that we're amateur bloggers, we don't have any legal training in the art of being a journalist, and we're learning as we go. It's a steep learning curve. It's a very steep learning curve, and we're trying as much as possible to approach it in a reasonable and measured way.
Bloggers are criticised for wasting time and money by bombarding public bodies with questions. Are they an expensive nuisance?
Local councils are always moaning that people don't vote enough, they don't take enough interest. But when these blogs and websites do take a close interest and start scrutinising these people, they get very uncomfortable indeed, and sometimes resort to legal threats and so forth to try and have it all closed down.
But if they get serious allegations wrong, shouldn't Real Whitby be subject to the law? Investigating their claims is costing councils tens of thousands of pounds. Last March, Scarborough Borough Council solicitor threatened Real Whitby with legal action.
We immediately, all of us, went back to her and said, please particularise. What in particular are you suggesting that we have said that is untrue? Because if it is untrue, naturally we retract, we apologise most humbly, and we will publish a correction. We've never had a reply to that.
Then it was claimed the council had tried to close Real Whitby down. At the time, the council said it hadn't. But this letter, sent earlier to Real Whitby's internet service provider, says the council requests you terminate Real Whitby's website hosting service because it's in breach of your own terms and conditions. Doesn't that mean shut it down? We asked the council for an interview and got our sixth refusal. Remember, these are public bodies refusing to speak. Its statement said it was not trying to shut down Real Whitby, but remind its internet service provider it was breaching its terms and conditions by carrying malicious, harmful and abusive comments. It also said the website's inaccurate, misleading and defamatory content was self-evident and didn't need specific listing.
I will sit right down, waiting for the gift of sound and vision.
Recently, Communities Secretary Eric Pickles told councils to allow filming of their meetings. Last November, Real Whitby took him at his word and set about filming Seamer Parish Council.
He's been encouraging members of the public to go along to meetings, to film them, to tweet them, and I think that this is in the best interest of democracy.
We all do this to try and make our community a better place, and then people come and do that. It's fine then.
Seamer Council didn't appreciate Mr Pickles' guidance and ordered them to stop filming.
Are you saying then that the statutes and acts of Parliament don't apply here?
Saying that our standing orders apply.
Do they override the acts of Parliament?
They do.
They don't?
They're like anarchists.
The council was outraged and called the police. It's believed 6 officers turned up.
That's to my supervision in Scarborough as well, who's confirming what this says. I haven't got the power to ask you guys to leave.
It's a private club. They don't want any gate crashers.
Seamer chairman Harry Smith still appears to be camera-shy. He said no to an interview. Refusal number 7. The council issued no statement and simply referred us to the National Association of Local Councils. Now one of Real Whitby's most serious allegations, that former Scarborough Mayor Peter Giaconelli, seen here with good friend Jimmy Savile, was a child abuser.
Councillor Giaconelli, what is sort of carry-on is this for a future Lord Mayor of Scarborough?
He was a paedophile. He was well known to local people and the police for this, and that he was protected because of his status as a very wealthy and influential businessman, a mayor and a very successful and local councillor.
True? We contacted some of Real Whitby's witnesses. We began with Trevor Harrington and caught up with him in Australia. He was 11 when he says Giaconelli assaulted him in his van.
Once you finish work on a night time, Peter used to take us home in his van. And I wasn't the only one, there's quite a few of us. And I'll give you the tip, nobody wanted to sit in the front. That is definitely, everybody tried to get in the back, but there was that many. Somebody had to sit in the front. And they knew, when you sit in the front, Giaconelli's hands are wandering. One hand's on the wheel, and the other hand's playing with you, or trying to. And it didn't matter when you told him to off or off, leave it alone. He just laughed it off. It was a joke. It's just a joke to him. You knew it was going to happen. So yeah, everybody's aware of it, it's going to happen. So there's a feeling of trepidation, and I feel that. I can still feel that. I can see his face.
He featured in his ice cream shop on Jim'll Fix It in 1976.
You are a lovely girl, aren't you?
Yeah.
Now hold it steady. Now watch. See? Looks easy, doesn't it?
He even held the world oyster eating record.
Peter's going at it very well. Peter's going at it very fast. There are the oysters. They're gradually disappearing fast.
After Real Whitby published, more alleged victims of Giaconelli came forward.
It was back in 1972 or 73. I was 12 or 13 at the time. I was walking along the seafront at Scarborough South Bay, and he called me over. He said, you want a Saturday job? So I went upstairs and sat down. He turned up a few minutes later, sat next to me, put his hand on my inner thigh and said, let's see what we can do now. Well, with that, I just got up and ran away.
This man was 15 in 1968 when he claims Giaconelli propositioned him outside his ice cream parlour.
He came over and started talking to me, make conversation. And he asked me when I was going to go upstairs and show him my... I told my parents, and my father took me to the police station the next day or the day after. And we gave a statement. And after I'd told the police officer what had happened, he said that he believed what I'd told him. He was aware of similar stories, but that Peter Giaconelli, Councillor Giaconelli, was a town councillor, a county councillor, I think. He ran a judo club, he was a businessman, and he was a pillar of Scarborough society, effectively. That was the impression I drew from it. And that was the end of it.
What did you make of that?
To think that he would do that and know that he could get away with it, it's just amazing.
Peter Giaconelli died in 1999. He's still listed as an honorary alderman of Scarborough. This is a dead man who can't defend himself, and you've made one of the most serious allegations possible, and you want his alderman status removed. Are you comfortable with that?
Of course it's true that he can't defend himself, but neither can he be censured, neither can he be punished, neither can he go to jail. It's very clear that there is reason enough to believe that this is not a fitting figure to carry the status of alderman.
We've spoken to 5 witnesses, from the 13-year-old boy who was assaulted in a gents' loo in 1951 to a 15-year-old who was grabbed from behind whilst trying to collect cash. They are all credible. But we've seen no compelling evidence of an organised cover-up or a paedophile ring operating here in Scarborough, as Real Whitby claims. The Borough Council says it's passed on allegations of abuse to North Yorkshire Police. So why have none of his alleged victims been interviewed? Refusal number 8. The police declined to speak on camera. In a statement, they said the force and the Independent Police Complaints Commission had reviewed its handling of Real Whitby's claims. No further action was required. It will consider any allegations raised in this programme or elsewhere. So, still no reason why the alleged victims say they haven't been interviewed. We also asked Peter Giaconelli's relatives to be interviewed. Refusal number 9. In their statement, they said there wasn't one occasion where they'd heard complaints or been shown factual evidence regarding the allegations. They would condemn unreservedly improper or criminal acts Peter Giaconelli may have committed, but judgment must be based on clear and sound evidence. The Real Whitby postings do not satisfy these criteria. That's Real Whitby. It's claimed it's turned from a what's on to a what's wrong in North Yorkshire. Critics say it's a libellous rag. Unfortunately, none were prepared to go on camera to say that. We've tested some of Real Whitby's allegations and put forward evidence. It's up to you to decide who's right.